Hi, everyone. This is Evzia Verdakis, and today we're going to talk about cleansing space. And we're going to go over why we cleanse our space, when we cleanse our space, how we cleanse our space, how space becomes contaminated, how often we need to cleanse. We're going to talk a little bit about energy in itself, people's thoughts, and places, because that's how we could get contaminated space. So let's start at the top. Why do we need to cleanse our space? Well, it's very simple. Think about it. Why do we clean our body? It's the same thing. Would you think about going out in public if you haven't cleaned your body for a week, 2 weeks, a month? So energy gets built up in the space. It all goes back to feng shui, but it's all energy. So why would we clean the space? Because negative energy gets accumulated in the space and it needs to be cleared out. It affects us in negative ways. Also, the space has to have a good vibration. And if you have negative energy in there, it will affect your health. It will affect how people feel in the space, whether happy or sad. Usually, when I meet people and I know they haven't cleansed their space, I could just pick up on it and I'll ask them, do you know what space cleansing is? And they go, yeah, I've heard of it. And I said, when's the last time you cleansed your space? And most of the time they say never, because spirit moves me to tell them they need to clear their space. All right. So that's a whole nother video. So let's get into when we should clean our space. So we clean our space because it's negative energy and it's to get rid of all that negative energy. So when do we do it? Well, it depends on your lifestyle. Someone like me that deals with a lot of energy work, psychic medium work, astrology work, and I'm around a lot of people, and sometimes if you have visitors come in and all that, but just being around a lot of people, their energy comes on me, and then that energy comes into the space. It's almost, think of it like dust, or think of it like those things in the clothing retail stores. They have a lock, and if you steal it and you open it up, all that ink goes everywhere. So it's pretty dramatic. But something like that. It gets everywhere. It's almost like an odor, like if something really bad smells, it just permeates throughout, and you smell the smell everywhere and you can't get rid of it. So I do it at least every day. I clean my space. All right. But for you guys, I'd say once a month, just to be on the safe side. The more, the better. It doesn't hurt. So now, how do you clean your space? You clean it by various ways. You could even look that up on other YouTube channels, ways to clean your space. But I like to do the frankincense because I grew up with that. My mother used it, and I like the smell. And there are properties of frankincense that are very interesting. They're antiviral and they alleviate any anxiety. It kind of lifts the mood of the space too, believe it or not. But you ought to try it and see what works with you. Essential oils are very good for elevating the energy in your space. Bells. Let's say you can't use any essential oils because you have allergies, or you can't do any incense. So here we have some essential oil right here, and you put it in the diffuser. Then I use the charcoal they're little black charcoals here, and I use this kind of incense. It's resin, so that way you light up the charcoal and you put the resin on top. So here's my little incense, my incense burner, and you have the charcoal in there with the incense, and then it smokes up. Now, for some people, that's too much smoke. They don't like it. So then we have to do other stuff. You could ring bells. So let's say you don't have bells. You could take 2 wooden sticks, pick, pick, like that, and go around the whole house. You could clap your hands and go around the whole house. You could sing, and you could sprinkle holy water. Okay. The first thing that you have to understand is when you do any kind of cleansing, any kind of ritual work, I don't care what it is, you have to set the intention. And so the intention is that you clear the space. It's pretty simple. And you could say a prayer. You could think happy thoughts. You could add affirmations. It doesn't matter because it's your space. And as long as you do it, it's like, how do I take a shower? Doesn't matter as long as you have soap, water, a towel to dry off, the basics. What makes you feel good is going to dictate how you clean your space. But clean your space, it's really important. So now people say to me, well, gee, how did my space get so contaminated? That is a great question. And this is very, 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 very important. Spaces get contaminated by energy. And you're like, energy? What do you mean energy? Invisible energy. So just like we don't see the temperature outside, it's invisible energy. It could be hot, it could be cold. It still affects us. We feel it. Just like you don't see love, you can't physically touch love, but you could feel it. And same thing with hate. Okay. So it's just energy, microwave energy. X-rays are energy. So it's real. All right. There's ultraviolet light. That's energy. So this energy comes from different people. All right. Now, if you look, we're down over here. So different people. People's energy will stick on to you through energy strands or cords. So when, like you and I were on the internet together, you have some of my energy. How thick the energy cord will be and how thin it could go, as thin as a spider thread or as thick as a tree. Family members have very thick energy tunnels or funnels. All right. They're really thick, even like tree trunks. So that energy, imagine a fire hose that expands as big as a tree trunk. You get a big dose of energy in a very short amount of time if it's someone close to you, especially if they're mad at you. So that is very important. Let's say you go to a party and there's a lot of bad activity going on. You want to make sure that those energy cords get melted away when you come home because you brought them in. If you go anywhere where there's fear, dental chair, police department, a court of law, anywhere there's fear, even hospitals and stuff like that, that has all the energy of people that were in there scared out of the wits. And if that space wasn't cleared, probably it wasn't. And but I picture one day in the future, we'll be clearing the spaces of doctors' offices and courtrooms and saging and doing all this ritual stuff because Pluto's going into Aquarius, and and it's happening. So have faith, you guys. All right. So energy is connected to us, and even right here, people's thoughts. So people, let's say, someone was thinking about you, but not in a good way. Number one, you may feel it, but number two, it could contaminate your space, especially if you were in front of them at a gathering and they were thinking negative thoughts about you. Now, it's like Velcro, it got stuck on you, and you bring that bad energy home. That's why sometimes you'll go somewhere and you come home and you're like totally drained, wiped out. There could have been a lot of negativity in that space. Now, the more you practice being observant of these energies, the better you're going to be at sensing them, because it's like a muscle. When you work out in the gym, it gets stronger and stronger. Then you'll be able to pinpoint it, and then you can say, you know what, it's time to go. I have to go. And just politely leave. Why expose yourself to quote unquote toxicity or radiation or something bad where it's going to be damaging? Okay. The other thing, as I talked about before, is the places. All places have energy, and depending on who was there, what kind of people were there. So I hope you got a clear understanding of cleansing the space, why it's important, because all space has negative and positive energy. When, that's up to you, it's personal, at least once a month, guys. How we could do the essential oils, the incense, the bells, anything, even singing. Okay. And then we talked about how the space gets contaminated, and how often to cleanse your space, and energy, being aware that energy is everywhere, and that we should be more and more mindful of energy, especially in this day and age. And thoughts are things, and they do travel. But let me, as an aside note, your thoughts, if they're negative, go out. Guess what? It's like a rubber band. You pull out the negative thought and it lets go, and it will come back to you. So that's why we have to be very careful of how we think about other people. We just need to let it go. Even if they've done us wrong, you don't have to be the victim or anything, but just let it go, forgive them, and understand that, if we think negatively, we could harm ourselves. And it's the places that we go to. Thank you again. Share this, subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye.